Welcome to Omni Update. Every single day, a massive portion of the global economy squeezes through an incredibly narrow bottleneck between Oman and Iran. Known as the Strait of Hormuz, this critical shipping lane is just 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. However, the safe navigable channels are actually much tighter, barely 2 miles across in either direction. With tens of millions of barrels of oil flowing through here daily, one thing is absolutely certain. If this tiny stretch of water is ever blocked, the entire world will feel the economic shockwave instantly. Recent geopolitical tensions have highlighted just how vulnerable this energy lifeline really is. Naval warships are constantly on patrol, insurance rates for massive oil tankers are skyrocketing, and global shipping companies are scrambling to create backup plans. This area has seen everything from seized cargo vessels to direct military strikes, making it a dangerous flashpoint where a single mistake could trigger a massive global conflict. Even the mere threat of a closure is enough to send international energy markets into absolute chaos. And that panic extends far beyond Wall Street. A blockage here guarantees skyrocketing gas prices, massive spikes in global shipping costs, and significantly more expensive everyday goods for consumers from Los Angeles to London. This constant threat brings up an incredible question. What if massive cargo ships could completely avoid the Strait of Hormuz? For years, military strategists and civil engineers have debated a mind-blowing megaproject, carving a colossal artificial shipping canal straight through the jagged mountains of Oman's Musandam Peninsula. In theory, it is the perfect solution, allowing the world's energy supply to completely bypass the dangerous bottleneck. But turning this massive blueprint into reality is an entirely different story. To grasp the sheer scale of this idea, look at the geography. The Persian Gulf holds some of the most massive oil producers on the planet, including Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. To reach the open ocean, almost every single export must exit through that one tiny doorway. Roughly 20 million barrels of crude travel this route every day, accounting for about a fifth of all global oil consumption. Very few locations on Earth hold this much sheer economic power, and viable alternatives are extremely limited. While countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE have built overland pipelines to bypass the strait, these systems can only handle a tiny fraction of the total daily volume. For the vast majority of the world's energy, massive tanker ships are still the only option, leaving the global economy uncomfortably dependent on a single, highly vulnerable choke point. Looking closely at the map, the Musandam Peninsula juts out into the water like a natural fortress. Interestingly, the actual distance between the Persian Gulf and the safe waters of the Gulf of Oman is incredibly short in certain spots, just a few dozen miles of rock separating the two. This naturally leads to the idea of just digging a massive trench straight through the land. Ships could sail safely out into the open ocean without ever navigating the tense geopolitical waters of the strait. It sounds brilliant until you look at the terrain. This is not flat, workable desert. The peninsula is dominated by the Hajar Mountains, an incredibly harsh landscape featuring jagged limestone peaks that shoot over 6,500 feet into the sky. Building a canal here is not a simple dredging job. It requires slicing through solid mountain ranges. Furthermore, modern very large crude carriers are absolute behemoths. To safely fit these massive ships, the artificial waterway would have to be incredibly wide, structurally stable, and exceptionally deep. The sheer volume of excavation would be staggering, requiring millions of tons of solid rock to be blasted and removed. Environmental concerns aside, the financial cost would be astronomical, easily reaching into the hundreds of billions of dollars. To put that into perspective, the massive Panama Canal expansion cost around $5 billion. A Musandam Canal would dwarf that price tag many times over. But moving mountains is only half the battle. The other massive hurdle is pure geopolitics. The land belongs to Oman, and they currently have zero official plans to tear their mountains apart for global shipping. Their economic focus is on developing local tourism and existing ports. A mega project of this magnitude would demand unprecedented international cooperation, massive foreign investment, and heavy long-term military security. And here is the ultimate uncomfortable reality. Building a massive canal does not actually eliminate the risk. It simply relocates the target. Instead of a natural strait, the global energy market would now rely entirely on a man-made trench. Just like any other canal, it could be easily blocked by a grounded tanker, a targeted missile strike, or a natural disaster. The world would effectively be trading one vulnerable bottleneck for another. So why does this impossible idea refuse to die? Because it highlights a fundamental truth about our modern world. The entire global economy is completely dependent on geography. Whether it is a man-made trench in Egypt or a narrow strait in the Middle East, a few tiny maritime corridors quietly keep the world running. The Musandam Canal represents the ultimate dream of redesigning the planet to erase a massive economic vulnerability. But reality is relentless. Mountains are incredibly hard to move, and global politics are even harder. For the foreseeable future, the Strait of Hormuz will remain exactly what it is, one of the most vital, fragile, and dangerous energy corridors on the face of the Earth.